Hello, I'm John Geib. I'm a vegetable specialist in the Big Country Master Gardener Association. Welcome back to our series of videos talking about what we need to be doing in our vegetable gardens for the following month. Well, the scary season is upon us. Not the spooky season, the scary season. Just look at the weather forecast. The weather has changed and fall is finally here. Our first frost is holding off so far, but we've had some beautiful, cool, crisp mornings. So what should we be doing this November in our vegetable garden? First things first. Everything that cannot handle a frost is still good for a couple of weeks. Maybe. While some plants can handle a little bit of the cool weather, some plants are not just frost tender, but actually cool weather tender. The main example of this is going to be watermelon. They cannot handle temperatures below about 36 degrees on a cool, clear night. Keep an eye out on the weather forecast. While our first frost averages November 12th, it has happened as early as October 18th and as late as Christmas Eve. Welcome to West Texas weather. For those warm weather plants that you still have growing, think tomatoes, squash, green beans, and melons, continue harvesting from them as you can. If you have any plants that are looking sickly and run down, feel free to go ahead and pull them out and send them to the compost pile, as long as they are not diseased. Any warm weather plants that do get some frost damage during any of our early frosts and freezes, feel free to trim off the parts that have died and toss those into the compost pile as well. Any crops surviving the cool weather in the garden will need to be tended to. A little bit of general maintenance like weeding and watering is all that really needs to be done to most of the plants right now in the garden. Remember, most plants will require at least 1 inch of water per week. This includes any rainfall that we do get for the week. While we normally recommend once a week deep watering for our flower gardens, vegetable gardens with their good draining soil usually need to be watered a little more often. If a frost is on the horizon, go through the garden and harvest anything that will not survive but is ready to harvest. Remember, tomatoes that are harvested early will ripen on your counter or can be fried into fried green tomatoes. If frost is going to be a light one, say 32 to 35 degrees for an hour or two, you may be able to keep your warm weather crops alive with just some frost cloth or a blanket or two thrown over them for the night. If a longer frost or worse, a hard freeze is forecasted, get ready for all those frost tender plants to die and be put into the compost pile. Any citrus plants that you have will need to be protected during all the frosts and freezes for the rest of the season. This usually means bringing them inside during the cold nights and taking them back out in the morning after temperatures are above freezing. If you have not gotten your cool weather crops started from seed already, you may need to look at the garden centers for some transplants. Please refer to our video on selecting a plant from the nursery for information on selecting good stock for your garden. If you have transplants ready and the weather is cooperating, go ahead and plant your cool weather crops in the garden. Remember to ensure that the plants have been hardened off with regards to both bright sunlight and cool temperatures before transplanting them into your garden. Plants that can be harvested in November are basil, beans, beets, cantaloupe, carrots, corn, cucumber, eggplant, kale, lettuce, okra, peas, peppers, radish, spinach, squash, sweet potatoes, Swiss chard, tomatoes, watermelon, winter squash, and zucchini. Remember that all the scraps from the harvested plants can be put into your compost pile for next year's garden. Plants that can be planted in late October and early November are beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, kale, lettuce, peas, radish, spinach, and Swiss chard. These plants can be direct seeded outdoors, but remember, it may take a while for them to germinate depending on the weather conditions. Remember to keep the seed bed nice and moist until they do germinate. Late October is also the time to be getting your garlic in the ground. Your garlic will grow all winter, spring, and into summer before it's ready for harvest. Remember that most of these cool weather crops do not like 85 to 90 degree temperatures that we can sometimes see here in the early fall. If forecasted temperatures are above the mid-80s, you may want to wait a few days to transplant your cool weather plants out in the garden. Remember, if you are using integrated pest management practices, as we recommend, a lot of the garden cleanup will wait until early March. Leaving the garden messy will allow bugs to overwinter in your garden. While this means the pests will survive in the winter, it also means that the predators will too, and they will be ready and waiting to chomp on the pests in the spring once the weather starts to warm. Start your cleanup projects for winter. The cool weather of fall makes for a good time to start a lot of the gardening projects that were put off due to the summer's extreme heat. The cool weather will allow you to actually work out in the garden without dying from heat stroke. Start thinking about any projects that you might want to work on during the cooler months. These could be something like building new garden beds, structures around your garden, or something like a new irrigation system to help make watering easier next year. Review what worked well in your garden and what did not. Take time during the winter months to research better ways of gardening. Our YouTube channel can really help you out with some good, useful local information. Well, that is all for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you've learned something, please like the video. If you found our videos helpful, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when new videos come out. We will be putting out a new What to Do in Your Garden Next Month video every month during roughly the last week of the month. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep gardening.